These badges are the source of labor union political power. These are all delegate badges for various labor union conferences that were held between the 1920s and the 1950s, and were all issued to a single man and his wife. His name was William C. Hankins, and he was a post office employee in St. Louis, and these badges tell the story of his career with the post office. The first one is from 1924 and actually shows him being a letter carrier and being part of the Letter Carriers Union. But by 1927, he had already been promoted and gone from the National Letter Carriers Association to the National Post Office Clerks Association. He was often accompanied by his wife Estelle, as evidenced by many of the visitor badges as opposed to delegate badges throughout this grouping, and this is actually a picture of her on a button. Now this may look like a mugshot, but this is actually an early form of an ID badge, where they would take your picture, and then this allowed you to get onto the naval base in Norfolk, Virginia. William and Estelle traveled all over the country going to these conferences, including to the World's Fair in 1933, the Century of Progress Fair, evidenced by both the visitor badge and the delegate badge for that conference. Probably my favorite badges are these ones from the 1939 conference that was in Los Angeles, California, because they actually have a picture of a letter on the bottom of that badge, and the insignia of the Postal Union acts as a stamp along with a postmark. By 1948, William had been promoted again to the National Association of Post Office Supervisors, giving him this badge to that conference, and he went to these conferences until his retirement in the early 1950s. The final badges of his career actually were not for the Postal Union in any way, shape, or form. They were for the American Federation of Labor in 1953, which very quickly afterwards in 1955 merged with the CIO to create the AFL-CIO, which is still one of the most powerful labor unions in the country. The bonus of this collection is these two buttons right here that would have been worn by a postal clerk. The first one says Airmail Ask Me, and the second one actually has a sticker over where it says Airmail that says Defense Stamps, and these stamps were issued in October of 1940, and this is just a fascinating piece of World War II postal history. All of these delegate badges allowed William to vote as a union member in these important conferences of American labor unions. These votes had critical impacts on early American politics, especially in the 20s through the 50s when these were issued, and is a fascinating corner of U.S. political history.